We are going to try now move to a different matter relating to the conditions of farm workers, specifically women. And we're welcoming on air Daniel Samuel, the coordinator of the Labour Rights Program at Women's on the Farm. We're also going to speak to the DDG. Welcome to Power Talk, Daniel Samuel. Did I correctly pronounce the name?
Yes, you did. And thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And I'm thanking you deeply as well for holding. We've had an inundated show today, but we do want to give prominence to this struggle. If, for the benefit of our listeners, you could just take us through the recent demands that were handed over on Monday to the Department of Labour regarding the conditions of women in the farms there in the Western Cape.
Thank you. Thank you for this. So I think it's important to give a bit of context and history about the issue. So at Women on Farms Project, we have been working with farm worker women for decades. And specifically seasonal farm worker women. And sadly, what we are now seeing is there's a total breakdown in accountability by the Department of Employment and Labour. And in particular, the inspection services and the compensation fund. And hence, we had the march on Tuesday. And this march came from the background of several meetings that we had in the past with senior officials, with heads of labour centres within the Cape Winelands District Municipality. And at these meetings, the women were always present, because we believe that women should speak for themselves. Nothing without them, so they need to share their lived experiences. So at each of these meetings, women shared their experiences. Promises were made by senior officials, and those promises came to naught. And that's the sad part of it. And so women were, so we just finished the harvesting season. And during that season, a lot of incidents of labor rights violations happened. Mm-hmm. And women, they've urged us not just to protest, but to take back their dignity, and to get the justice that they need. Because after all, DEL are the custodians of several labor legislation, and specifically the sectoral determination, which is supposed to protect farm workers. And for your listeners, I think it's important to be reminded that the women that we are talking about are the same women who ensure that there's food in this country. And at the same time, the government who's eating the food are neglecting and ignoring them.
But what are some of these violations? Just a detail of the labor law violations you are speaking to.
So when we handed over the memorandum on Tuesday to the provincial head of the Western Cape, we've listed a few cases. And I'm going to give you some of these cases that we've listed. so, we received a specific case from a woman, very young, in her early 20s, who worked on a farm in the Dorans during the harvesting season in April, March, February, January, those months, which is normally a harvesting time for table grapes. And she got injured when a heavy crate fell on her. And she had to go to the hospital without support from the employer. She had to go on her own, and she was hospitalized. And because she asked the employer to assist her in this matter, and he blatantly refused to assist her, we then tried to make contact with the employer, and he failed to respond. And so, as a last resort, and because of our previous experiences with the department, we were reluctant. We thought, let's try and resolve the matter on our own, as we in most cases do. And so we then sent a formal request in May 2024 to the Department of Employment, to the nearest labor center, which would be your Worcester Labor Center. And so we sent a letter. We've given all the details so that they would be able to contact the employer and to contact the worker. And then during May, we didn't get any response, and we went to an event of the Department of Employment in Labour in the Dorans, and we got some of the inspectors and officials at this event. And we spoke and explained the issue or the incident to the inspector, and we asked her, could you guys please investigate? We're going to send you all the details. And so I came back to the office, and we wrote a letter to a specific inspector. We had to follow up after 2 weeks. Nothing happened. And then we've escalated the matter to the head of the labor center, and still nothing happened. And then we were basically forced to escalate the matter to the head of the province. So because of the vulnerability and the financial impact that seasonal farm worker women have, not all of them you are able to contact, because in this instance, she did not have a telephone number or a phone. And that was made clear from the beginning, that she doesn't have a contact number or contact details, but we will then pass on the messages. We haven't heard anything from the department. We've sent WhatsApps to the head of the labor center. We even went as far as to suggest and propose, maybe what you should do is to go to the hospital where she is, because the hospital is closer to your office in Worcester than it is to her home in the Dorans, to make it easier for them.
Okay. Let me bring in let me bring in the DDG of Labour and Labour Policy and Industrial Relations, maybe to give a sort of broader response to the general working conditions and the measures that have to be put in place to ensure that the employers who violate workers' rights are put into the book. Baptem Nkosi Mkhaliphi, welcome to Power Talk.
Thank you, sir, and thank you to your listeners and your guests. Look, I mean, this is a difficult case that you're putting on the table. I mean, if we knew the details, we could have brought the head of the province to talk on it. I mean, as you know, I mean, Pretoria, a little bit far from the issue. But under the general approach on these issues, if a worker gets injured at work, the employer is required by the law to do a report of that injury and submit that report to the department. That's the first issue. Obviously, if an employee is injured at work, the employer must give the assistance that they can give to that employee. Now, the law doesn't say that they must take the employee to hospital, because you might find you are employed by you are a domestic worker. Your employer might not maybe have not the means to do that, but they might have the phone to call the ambulance and do what is necessary to do that. Now, it was reported to inspectors. The inspectors were then expected in this case to make sure that a report is made by the company. Also, these things take a little bit longer because there's got to be a report by the doctor on the nature of the industry, the extent of the injuries, so that then compensation can be calculated and paid on that specific case. But the failure, as the colleague who is making a case of the Labour Centre to do the right thing and take up the case, the head of the province is better placed to indicate. As she said, they submitted a submission with all the details this week to the province. We can hope that the province is going to investigate and consequences follow to those who fail to do their job.
But the general measures that get to be put in place, because I mean, here we're talking about a general population of farm workers where I mean, I think Mr. Neil's point is the arm of justice in as far as labor laws are concerned, particularly, you know, to put employers into the book in relation to these violations or putting proper working conditions for the workers. What's your reaction to the fact that there are weak measures, as it were, when it comes to farm workers?
Well, I mean, there are two issues here. Is that the law as it stands accepts that accidents do happen. And when an accident happens at work, these are the steps that need to be taken to deal with that accident. That's the first issue, reporting the accident. The second thing is that then the law talks about, depending on the nature of the job in the work, if you're dealing with machinery or what, an employer has got to take the necessary steps to ensure that workers are safe at work. But that's another issue that can be taken place at the accident when inspectors do their job. And that's why I was saying that the people that should be speaking with you, it's the head of the inspection of the province who received. I have not even received the memo, and I don't know the details of these issues. But in general, in the inspection, inspectors need to inspect the safety of workers, whether workers are safe. These machines are not guarded, that workers work with, and they need to guard so that workers' hands cannot get into the machines and cut the machine. Those are the kind of inspection that our health and safety inspectors are supposed to be doing. Whether I can't speaking to you now and say in the Western Cape, at that area that they are in, how many inspections were made. I think the best people that are better placed to give that information are the heads of the province.
Okay. Perhaps maybe what I can do, Datum Kalipi, is return to the matter in a week's time. Maybe you will be, because I trust you, Galok, if you can, on behalf of all of us, including Ms. Daniel, follow it up for us, the memorandum, the matters, and in a week's time we try to connect together with Ms. Daniel and some of the actual workers associations in the farms there and re-evaluate the matters and see what progress would have been made. Is that reasonable?
That's reasonable.
Okay.
Enough.
Is that reasonable, Daniel?
No, it's not, because this matter has been reported in May 2024. And I agree with Mr. Kalipi when he says this is what should happen. But that is in an ideal world. Why do you think we have labor laws? And why do you think we have institutions that need to enforce these laws? It's because people violate these laws. And that's why the Department of Employment and Labor is supposed to protect workers. And the department failed to do that on a continuous basis.
Okay. But what I will do, Daniel, is Mr. Mkalipi must get hold of this memorandum, and we will send him here on Power Talk. That was submitted on Tuesday to the provincial leadership of the department, and give him this 7 days so that he's able to give substantial responses to the demands that are put in the memorandum, and then we'll take it from there. Daniel?
I'm not satisfied. I mean,
Okay.
Years goes by. I can refer you to so many matters. A case in point, in 2018, a tractor. There was a tractor accident in 2018. Up until today, as we speak, the worker has not been compensated.
Yeah.
That's unfair. That's treasonous.
But I will take on those matters, and obviously my time here on Power Talk has reached an end. But we will take those case by cases, give them to Mr. Mkalipi, come back to the show, and Mr. Mkalipi makes a commitment that as soon as he gets hold of each and every matter, and that's what we can do here on Power, he will give us a response. Mr. Mkalipi, we are together, Ngit.
We are together.
And Kosti, thank you to both. And we promise indeed, Power Family, that we will return to this matter. It's 1200 hours here on Power Talk. Tshegofa Jomwahi will be serving lunch today. Please stay tuned for that. Power Lunch. We serve the best lunch in the city. Dintanda nonke makaya.